Hey, how you doing? Nope, my name's not Ken. I'm the Lawnmower Lady, and I like fixing small engines. Today's video, I'm going to show you the quickest and simplest and easiest way, in my opinion, to quickly assess what the problem is with a non-starter. No special tools required, no engineering degree, just simple diagnostic stuff. Small engines and cars and anything in general only needs three things to run: spark, fuel, and air. If it doesn't have one of those three things, it's never going to start. And my awesome sauce for quickly determining if this thing is even going to be a runner, so I don't have to start throwing parts at it for no good reason, is simply a little bit of two-stroke mix. I leave it in a little can like this, and I just squirt and pull, and if it coughs and runs, I'm good to go. Now, I realize not everyone's going to have a fancy little squirt can like this, maybe a syringe or anything just to get a few drops of something flammable in the combustion chamber. Some old go-tos from years past were stuff like WD-40, PB Blaster, things like that, but they've actually changed the formula on these to say they're just slightly flammable and they're really not going to work as starting fluid for you. The go-tos are anything that says extremely flammable. Carbon choke cleaner, obviously starting fluid, which is ether, extremely flammable. Brake cleaner, extremely flammable. So these are three things that you might already have laying around that you can quickly assess if this thing is going to start or not. Now I'm using a 8mm. You can also use a 5/16 to remove the air filter, and that'll allow us actually to do two things. We can see the condition of the air filter, which, it probably could stand a little bit of cleaning, but that's certainly not making it not start. And in the inside of the box, there's actually some oil in here, and that choke butterfly, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it is working. But I do see that it actually looks kind of gunky inside of there. But we're going to open up the choke a little bit, squirt a couple of squirts of some go juice in here, and see if this thing fires. So everybody's going to say, oh, you got to have the water running. Not for the amount of time I'm going to try to get this thing started. This is a little Troy-Bilt pressure washer. The guy says that he thought he bought it like 15 years ago, but actually he bought it in 2004. So he's gotten some good money's worth out of that. So put the choke back on, squirt a little bit of fluid in there, about a half choke, on fast. Now, this is kind of an awkward place to pull this thing over. Let's see if I can get this thing going here. Might be flooded. Let's put it on run. That's a good sign. That little bit of two-stroke that I put in there took off. Obviously, I had it kind of a little too rich, a little flooded, but that tells me three things. I've got spark, I've got fuel, and I've got air. The fuel system obviously is a problem because it's only running on just the amount of fuel that I squirted in there. He drains the gas in the winter. He uses it all the time. So he just doesn't like doing the maintenance part. On the bench, level ground, we're going to check the oil level. And it's pretty black. We'll be changing that. Screw that back on. So the oil level is really low. And on these Briggs Strattons, there is a little hole right there. And there on the dipstick, the oil should be somewhere in between there. Add oil. Oil is full. There's about 4 ounces of difference right there. It very clearly says how much oil is supposed to be in here, which it says 20 ounces, 591 milliliters. I don't know if you can see that or not. Now, he went ahead and changed the spark plug, which I give him good credit for that. But there also is, I don't know if you can see this, there's a lot of oil on the bottom of the deck. And that could be something just as simple as, maybe these head bolts might be a little loose. And this guy obviously takes care of his stuff, but even taking care of this stuff, if you don't do some sort of regular-ish maintenance on it, you're going to eventually get to the point where it just can't overcome all the years of just a little bit of varnish in there, year after year. All right, again, this is a 5/16. Slide this off of here. There is a breather tube on there in the back that hooks up with that guy right there. And as you can see, it's just got a lot of goop in there. Now, this is not completely necessary, but it sure will make it easier for you to see what's going on. Gonna remove these two Phillips. This shroud, yep, will just pop right off of there. Now, he says he filled it up with fresh gas, and I believe him. Just a regular pair of pliers to remove that hose clamp. You're going to have to sort of work it down that breather tube. It's going to be in the way. Well, actually, the easy way to do it is just take that off. Remember, when you put that back on, the long side goes towards the engine. You get that off of there. I'm going to drain this off into something and take a look at what comes out. There is some sediment and dirt, but I'm pretty sure that's just what's fallen off from the exterior of the machine. And I just loosened the cap to make it drain a little faster. Oh, and I noticed too, you have an older engine like this little aluminum disc, this little floppy disc in here, that will sometimes come off of there. This is what actually allows the fuel cap to vent. So if this ever falls off, it'll be inside your fuel tank. Don't worry about it. It's not going to hurt anything. But you are going to have to replace the cap with a newer version. Now, you might not be able to perceive this or not, but he might have put in fresh fuel, but there might have been just enough of the old fuel in there. This has a very yellowish tint to me, or a dark yellow tint, whereas fresh fuel normally is almost kind of greenish looking, just slightly, much lighter yellow than this. I'm just going to use a shop rag and force some of that fuel out of there. This is a 10 millimeter. This one back here is kind of hard to get to because of the outside of the carb there. And the other one on the other side, same thing. The edges of the carb sort of get it off center. Carb's going to pop off of there independent of any of this choke mechanism. And we're just going to give this a 90-degree turn and get it off that bend without spilling too much fuel. And there's our carburetor. Pretty dirty. I'm going to clean the outside, and then I'm going to put it in my ultrasonic cleaner and go from there. You know, you can see how varnished up the inside of that is. And the fuel, I want to see what's in the bowl, because I have a feeling that's also going to be, and I'm not sure if you can really tell that, but this is just really brown looking to me. This doesn't look like anything to do with fresh fuel. And for those of you that have watched basically any of my videos, you know that my favorite cleaning solution is old, bad gasoline. So this is perfect to clean off the outside of this carburetor before I run it through the ultrasonic cleaner. And you also might be asking, hey, why two-stroke mix when this is not a two-stroke machine when I was diagnosing the fuel delivery issue? Well, the reason for that is for me, it's just a one-stop fluid for two-strokes and four-stroke machines. It's really not a good idea to run like starter fluid or carb cleaner or something like that in a two-stroke, because it really needs that lubrication in the cylinder. Otherwise, you can do some damage by running it on basically non-lubricated fuel. Yeah. This stuff is unvarnishizing just with a little bit of gas on there, but yeah. Okay, we're going to see what the inside of this looks like. All right, this nut on the bottom that holds the bowl on is also the main jet. Get that off. This is a 13 millimeter or a 1/2 inch. Still some fuel dripping out of there. The main jet itself is in the bottom there, so this could be a little plugged up a little bit, but we're going to, like I said, run all this through the ultrasonic cleaner and see how that looks after that. But you can see some of that varnish did get cleaned off a little bit. Come on. There we go. Yeah, it's a little cruddy looking in there. We're definitely going to be replacing the bowl gasket. The inside of the carb looks okay. The needle's all right. The float's got a little bit of sediment on it. We'll probably throw that in there as well. And a little bit of oxidation. Feels like fine powder. I don't know if you can see this or not, but the rubber needle seat inside of there, that hole is way too tiny for what it should be. So this has been swelled up from many years of probably ethanol fuel. He might have started using ethanol free, but after 19-20 years, I'm going to remove this needle seat. This is actually a Tecumseh tool. It's tool number 670377. It's really good for removing these guys. It's got what shockingly looks like a crochet needle, which it is, but use that to pull that old seat out. Goes in there. You will destroy the seat. Come on. Oh, it flew off somewhere. There we go. Yeah, so here's this old needle seat. You can see how small that hole is. You can see how different the size of that metering hole is. This is the new one here. This is the old one. You can see it's all swollen. So it's just not going to let enough fuel through there. And the inside of the carb bowl, that looks pretty bad. We'll be tossing all that in the ultrasonic cleaner. Now I'm going to get as much of this bowl gasket that sort of vulcanized itself off before I run this through the cleaner, because the ultrasonic cleaner will not take care of that. The actual bowl, you can see it's just completely falling apart on me here. I think a pick is a better tool to get this old bowl gasket off of here and leave as few pieces as possible. There we go, that's working well. A little bit of wire brush action. Again, the ultrasonic's not going to take off that vulcanized sort of rubber that's on there. Now typically, in my ultrasonic cleaner, I use jars of fluid and keep just plain old fresh water in here. But the last job I had to do was a monstrous old 5 horsepower carburetor. And I'm going to put all the little bits in a T-ball so they won't get lost floating around in the bottom of the cleaner. A little bread tie will hold this float on here, because typically they just kind of bubble around on top, and I want that to actually get cleaned up really well. So, all right, fire it up. And gonna go away for a little while. Gone through 2 complete cycles, and I did forget to, oops, well, that's a mess. Water's hot. I did forget to put the carb bowl in the first round, so I put that in the second one, and it came out pretty nice. I use pine sol and water. I find that will clean just about any and everything I need it to clean without much issue. I maybe just grab this plastic piece. Yeah. Now, the pine sol does, after a couple of rounds, sort of discolor, makes it sort of a darker gray color. All that, I don't know if you can see inside of there, but all that varnished fuel is gone. What I felt like was, fine grit, None of that is there. And I think it looks great. And the little T-ball, which has the main jet and needle and pin, man, it came out clean as a whistle. Like new. So I've cleaned everything out, sort of sprayed it down. Can send some like guitar strings through here to make sure those holes are clear. And then I saw that there was just a little bit of still there was some varnished fuel there, so I hit that with some carb spray and made sure all these passages were clear. Next thing I'm going to do is just put a little bit of carb spray on a cotton bud. And I'm going to clean out the needle seat area to make sure that doesn't have any debris or damage in there. Now, when you use cotton buds, you want to inspect very carefully and make sure there's no like stray cotton fiber still in the hole. So you can see there's a lot of, I don't know, sort of sandy discoloration in there. I guess it's just, and you can see that the sort of brass part of the needle seat actually looks pretty bright and clean right now. So I'm thinking this is going to work out great. Now, the backside of this Tecumseh carb tool actually has a little brass tool in where you can put the new needle seat in there. It really doesn't work well because it doesn't grip onto this as well. So I'll just get it started with this. But the way these go in, you can see there is a flat side, and then there's a side with a little indentation ridge in there. The ridge always goes down. Make sure there's no debris on that. And then I can just get it started right here. And I'll finish it up with a drill bit or something. All right, there we go. It's started. And let me get like the back of a drill bit or something so it will go all the way home. All right, this is a 7/32 drill bit. And it fits very nicely inside there. So we're just going to make sure that rubber needle seat is all the way home. Put the needle under that little slot right there. And we're going to set the needle carefully inside of that hole and then put the pin in. And you know you're all the way home with that needle seat when this carb is flat, so I can see that it's not quite all the way home yet. So I'm going to have to put that drill bit in there and push that home just a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to go down to a 13/64. Oh yeah, I think I felt that drop in a little tighter there. Deeper, pardon me. One more time with feeling. All right. And as you can see, the level of the carb float is level with that edge of the carb. And what would happen if it wasn't level like that, then it would wind up cutting off the fuel supply too soon, and it wouldn't be able to keep up. I'm going to replace the carb bowl gasket on here. For this particular carb, it's part number 693981. I haven't found any rhyme or reason of why some of these are thicker than others, but as you can see, there's another same size, but a much thicker profile there. And if your carb takes that, you can tell by the thickness of that lip right there. If it's a taller lip, about maybe 1/8 of an inch, 2 or 3 millimeters or so, that's going to be part number 796610. Like I said, I haven't found any rhyme or reason of why one, what they come on or particular equipment. It's just all over the place for me. So I'm going to make sure that gasket fits cleanly all around there. It's not bent. And this bowl nut gasket, it seems to be okay. I don't think there's a problem with that. So I'm not going to try to replace that right now unless it is leaking. And we're going to tighten this guy down snug. Not too tight. We just want to compress that bowl gasket so it makes a good seal. And the last thing I'm going to do is this throttle plate on the back side of the carburetor. It was actually sort of seized up a little bit, so I just have a little drop of two-stroke oil. I'm just going to put one tiny drop of two-stroke oil in there to lubricate that. So hopefully that won't be seizing up again. Or if there is any varnish-sized fuel in there, it won't be a problem. And probably the same thing on the... There's a whole lot of varnish stuck on this side. One drop. There we go. That's a big drop. Clean out the excess. It has fixed settings, so it might not be so bad. Okay, so I've cleaned up all the back of this air box. It was kind of dirty on the underside. That's actually where the air comes in this thing. Here's the old gasket, and there's absolutely no rips, tears, or anything on here. I am going to fit this back in. It did go through the ultrasonic cleaner. And the reason I'm doing that is that, in all honesty, this gasket really has to be really good if we still had a primer bulb on here, but we don't have that. We have a choke lever on this one, so I think that'll be good to go. And check the back where this O-ring is. Make sure that's nice and clean. All these parts, they come in 498260. This is a carb overhaul kit. It includes everything you need and don't need for multiple styles of carburetors. New needles, new seats, little foam things. These don't, that's not on this carb. There's a lot of bits and parts for carbs that, you know, for different types of carbs. So that's the kit that all this stuff comes in. Take two. Get that on there. And fit that through there. And then we got to make sure that the choke plate, that little white nylon bit, fits wherever the choke setting is. And you see that will hold that in. And start these screws by hand. Same thing on the other side. I don't know what the torque is on these, but I'm not overdoing it. This is going into aluminum head. All right, gonna refit the fuel line, which surprisingly feels very good for being as old as it is. Let me back that off. There we go. And don't forget the breather tube attachment. Remember, the long end goes towards the engine. Airbox cover. Double check my gasket is good. Drill set on like just 3, the clutch. I don't really want to over torque these. It's very easy to warp the airbox. And if you don't have a clutch with a drill, just do these with a hand tool. And I always start with the ones on the carburetor first. And then lastly, the one that holds the box on. This is Briggs Stratton air cleaner, part number 491588. And I fit that in there. It does tell you which way is up and out. Make sure these 3 tabs hook in the bottom, right there. Same 8mm. So since there's all this oil sort of piled up on the bottom, I am going to check the torque on these head bolts. And you can download this handy check chart for anything to do with Briggs & Stratton. I can't keep this stuff in my head, but according to this, this series engine is 140 inch-pounds. And this is a 13mm socket, so we're going to check all these head bolts. Click, there you go. Like a little bit of turn there. That might be where the oil is leaking from. And I'm doing sort of a zigzag pattern. I don't exactly know what it's supposed to be, but Yeah, all these on the end are sort of leaking a little bit. It's very common that the ones near the muffler, I have trouble getting this one. I might have to take off that muffler shield. Let's go get these two first. Did I already do that one? I think so. Kind of tight with all that corrosion right there. And we can get that last head bolt right there. Yeah, see, all these had little good ways to go, so I suspect that's just a function of they get loose. One tiny spritz with a little WD-40 to lube those threads just a little bit. They're hard to get started. Check the spark plug. I think it looks pretty good in there. There's no corrosion inside the cap. Oh, and it's hand tight. Well, I guess that's better than over torqued. Yeah, a little bit of oil on there. He hasn't been able to run this at all since he put the new plug in. This is a 21mm magnetic socket, and all we're really trying to do is just compress that crush washer, and once it's snug to the head, maybe 1/4 of a turn tops. There you go. That's it. Hear that positive click? Should be good to go. I'm going to try to drain out what little oil is in here without creating an absolute BP moment on my workbench here. Let's see if we can get this to go over all in one bit. Well, I would say there is not a lot of oil coming out of there. I hope you can see that. I mean, it's just draining very, very slowly. I did go ahead and replace the cover with those 2 Phillips screws right there. I'm just going to let this sit for a while. So while I'm waiting for the oil to drain, I'm going to work on, his complaint was it was leaking basically everywhere. And that's just normal wear and tear on these things. The O-rings wear out. This is just a standard set of SAE O-rings. These are metric, which I'm going to start off with because this gun is made in Italy. Most of the really good quality ones are. Now inside of his hose, again, you can see this O-ring is just completely gone. A lot of rust and corrosion in there. We can't dig that out. And of course, there's no way to really know what the size was. I'm going to spray just a little bit of WD-40 right on here on his hose and see if I can't clean up some of that corrosion. This is one of those really aggressive Scotch Brite pads. This will ensure a good fit. I might have to get something a little more aggressive on that. I don't normally like to use sandpaper on something like this, but because it can leave bits of grit in there, but this is kind of bad inside that channel. I want that to seal up well. You can see a little bit that's cleaning up, which is good. Keep working on that a little bit. A little more WD-40. Maybe some wire brush action. That still feels pretty rough to me, but this might be good enough. Now, I could get out my caliper and measure this and waste a lot of time, but I'm just going to stick with maybe finding something that might be the right size. You do want it to be snug on there. If there's any looseness, like if you can get a pick up under there. This was the RO7, which is 10 ID, 10 millimeter, 2.5 thickness. That looks pretty good. There's no slop on there. And that might just be the ticket. Also, while I'm in here, I'm going to try to clean out the corrosion inside of here as well. Again, a little bit of WD-40 on this Scotch-Brite pad. I'm just going to try to polish up the inside of this right here. Not going for a whole lot. Now let's see how well our new hose fits on there. Well, actually, I'm going to spray these threads just a little bit as well. Now this does have to sort of feel like it's snapping in a little bit. Yeah, it's taking a bite. That's a good sign. I try not to use tools on these, but I might have to here. I'm really not trying to honker down on this guy. I don't want to seize on there, but I do want to make sure there's, oh yeah, there's a little bit more room for movement. This is taking no effort whatsoever. But as soon as I feel it giving some resistance, I'm going to stop. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. So I'm going to take this off and see how it looks. If it didn't completely destroy that O-ring, this will probably be a good size. The O-ring still looks good. And he also says it's spewing water from there as well. Again, just a touch of WD-40 might help get this guy off of here. I might have to get a tool on that, which I don't want to do. All right. I give up. There we go. Gotta really work this guy off of here. There we go. And this doesn't look as bad, but you can see that this O-ring is like completely flattened out. This end of the wand looks a lot better. I'll try to polish that up again with a little bit of this Scotch-Brite pad. Much better looking. And stuff like this is just really just normal routine maintenance. These things wear out after a certain period of time, and hey, this one is completely intact. Might be a little stretched out, but you can see how bright. No corrosion on that at all. This will help pinpoint the proper size. I think that this size that I put on the other one is going to be right, but you can see how the other one was flat, deteriorated, sort of mashed up. And get that O-ring on there. This does spin a little bit, but I honestly don't think I have another smaller size. Normally I don't like to see that movement on there. See if there's a slightly smaller one in this SAE set. Yeah, and this is sort of looking like the same size. See if this is a little better on. Actually, I think this one feels like it fits better. It doesn't seem to be spinning as badly as the other one is. This is a 3/8 by 332, so real close. I'm not going to do the metric math, but it just is not spinning as freely. So I think that's going to be a better fit. Yeah, I think that feels better. On the hose end, I think I am going to stick with this metric one because there is some deterioration in there, but it is not spinning. So maybe that microns of difference will fix this. This oil has been draining for a good long time. Let's upright this beast. It is some pretty thick and not a lot of oil. This should take about a half a quart, which would be right up to that line right there. I don't know if you can see how low that is. So I like to pre-measure my oil in another jug. This is right just around 16 ounces, 500 milliliters, like a half a quart. All these engines take somewhere around a half a quart. So I'm going to pour this in and hopefully not spill too much. Yeah, there you go. That's sort of a wide mouth. That's why I keep reusing this same bottle. And the honest truth, it's a lot easier to add oil than it is to take it out. So it's pretty good right there. Gave it a few minutes for the oil to go ahead and settle down the tube so I won't get a false reading here. Push that all the way in, twist it. That's what you got to do on Briggs engines. And oftentimes it's easier to see on one side of the dipstick or another. If you can see this is just above the full mark. So all these keep a little bit of oil inside the engine when you're done. And the one thing that I see most common missing on all these machines is the inlet screen. I'm going to go ahead and replace that. It's really important to keep junk out of your pump. It's real easy to lose these. Like the first time you do it, it winds up in your yard somewhere, and then, you know, you don't know where to look. You can buy a kit of these, very inexpensive. I'll put a link on there. So I have this hooked up to a water supply, and it is not leaking from there, nor is it leaking from here. But the problem is, as you can see, there is no control. There's a ball valve inside of here that's corroded, seized up or something. That'll be another video, but this is not going to stop me from checking this out. Clean, ethanol-free fuel. I see some bits of some kind of crap in there, but it'll be all right. No leaks around the carb bowl. That's good. Full choke. Full throttle. One more time with feeling. I don't think I'm going to need any choke this time around. Maybe just a little bit. Didn't really warm up that much. Probably what you did not see, and sorry for all the noise, is as soon as it fired up, it stopped leaking because that little ball bearing inside of that valve, once it got under pressure, it cleaned up. But as you can see, there's no leaks at the handle, no leaks at the nozzle, so those O-rings are good. And no leaks anywhere else on the machine that I can see. I really haven't looked up in the owner's manual about this, but as soon as I turn off the machine and go back to just the water only, the handle acts like that ball valve is not working. So that's news to me. I might look up the owner's manual on this, but this seems to be a feature and not a bug of this machine. So even though this guy took really good care of it, he always drained the fuel at the end of the year, there are some maintenance issues that he did neglect to take care of over the, 19 years he's had this thing. You got to change the oil, you got to do the air filter. The O-rings, they're just wear and tear items, they're going to go away completely. If your washer is like mine, it's a much smaller version of it, and about the same age, a nice wand. They're still made in Italy. So ever since I've been storing my wand upside down with the trigger open, haven't had any problems with it ever in maybe 4 years or so. If your washer has a Honda engine on it, you might want to watch this video right here. Mo happy.